collar, white collar, black professors, white scholars, politicians, Dalai Lamas. Everybody in the whole wide world need hope if I be honest. I'm in that number.
Welcome to the Robert Report. I'm your host, Robert Brown. As you already know, I grew up in Florida, in a small town. Nice, pretty much borderline on the beach on the Gulf Coast, called Bradenton, Florida. And I gotta let you know, I enjoyed my childhood. There's nothing bad about it. My mom was a hard worker, and she only wanted the best for her kids. One of the things that we never had to deal with when we were in Florida was school shooting. Now, don't get me wrong, we got some hood areas in that area of Bradenton, Florida, and they do have its fair share of ignorance on steroids. And there's a lot of young people, even during my time, that was doing stupid stuff like getting shot up and robbed and things like that. It saddens me real hard. See kids get slaughtered. To see some kid get to the point where they lose their mind and feel like they need to go in and make a statement and slaughter children. I don't like to see anybody get slaughtered, period. I really don't. And this situation in Florida saddens me. But yet at the same time, I'm filled joy because the student, not the federal government, not Rick Scott, not the religious leaders in Florida, not the Southern Baptist culture or none of that, are pushing this movement that's about to happen. The kids are saying enough is enough. And some of the kids are saying you can forget about us going to school until you fix this situation. And I'm going to pull my full support behind these kids, but I want you to hear this rousing speech from this kid and the enoughness, if I can say that as a term, that they had now. Now, if America in general take off their freaking party hats, stop trying to play sides, stop trying to be hacks, come together like these kids are coming together, we can change this world. There's a scripture in the Bible say, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak. And out of the mouth of babe and suckling is perfected praise. A lot of times children have more common sense than adults. And when they're pushed hard, they become the adults and we become the children. Watch this.
We are going to be the kids that you read about in textbooks. Not because we are going to be another statistic about mass shootings in America, but because, just as David said, we are going to be the last mass shooting. Just like Tinker v. Des Moines, we are going to change the law. That's going to be Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in that textbook, and it's all going to be due to the tireless effort of the school board, the faculty members, the family members, and most importantly, the students. The students who are dead, the students still in the hospital, the students who are now suffering from PTSD, the students who had panic attacks during the vigil because the helicopters who wouldn't leave us alone, hovering over the school 24 hours a day. There has been one tweet that I would like to call attention to. So many signs that the Florida shooter was mentally disturbed, even expelled for bad and erratic behavior. Neighbors and classmates knew he was a big problem, must always report such instances to authorities again and again. We did, time and time again. Since he was in middle school, it was no surprise to anyone who knew him to hear that he was the shooter. Those talking about how we should have not ostracized him, you didn't know this kid. Okay, we did. We know that they're claiming that there are mental health issues, and I am not a psychologist, but we need to pay attention to the fact that this isn't just a mental health issue. He wouldn't have harmed that many students with a knife. And how about we stop blaming the victims for something that was the shooter's fault? The fault of the people who let him buy the guns in the first place, those at the gun shows, the people who encouraged him to buy accessories for his guns to make them fully automatic, the people who didn't take them away from him when they knew that he expressed homicidal tendencies. And I am not talking about the FBI. I am talking about the people that he lived with. I'm talking about the neighbors who saw him outside holding guns. If the president wants to come up to me and tell me to my face that it was a terrible tragedy and how it should never have happened, and maintain telling us how nothing is going to be done about it, I'm going to happily ask him how much money he received from the National Rifle Association. In the 1.5 months in 2018 alone, that comes out to being $5,800. Is that how much these people are worth to you, Trump? If you don't do anything to prevent this from continuing to occur, that number of gunshot victims will go up, and the number that they are worth will go down. And we will be worthless to you. To every politician who is taking donations from the NRA, shame on you. As us, would your first thought be, how is this going to reflect on my campaign? Which should I choose? Or would you choose us? And if you answered us, will you act like it for once? You know what would be a good way to act like it? I have an example of how not to act like it. In February of 2017, 1 year ago, President Trump repealed an Obama-era regulation that would have made it easier to block the sale of firearms to people with certain mental illnesses. That I had with the shooter before the shooting and the information that I currently know about him, I don't really know if he was mentally ill, but I wrote this before I heard what Delaney said. Delaney said that he was diagnosed. I don't need a psychologist, and I don't need to be a psychologist to know that repealing that regulation was a really dumb idea. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa was the sole sponsor on this bill that stops the FBI from performing background checks on people adjudicated to be mentally ill, and now he's stating for the record, well, it's a shame that the FBI isn't doing background checks on these mentally ill people. Well, duh! You took that opportunity away last year! The people in the government who were voted into power are lying to us. And us kids seem to be the only ones who notice and are prepared to call BS. Companies trying to make caricatures of the teenagers nowadays, saying that all we are is self-involved and trend-obsessed, and they hush us into submissions when our message doesn't reach the ears of the nation. We are prepared to call BS. Politicians who sit in their gilded House and Senate seats funded by the NRA telling us nothing could have ever been done to prevent this. We call BS. They say that tougher gun laws do not decrease gun violence. We call BS. They say a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy guy with a gun. We call BS. They say guns are just tools like knives and are as dangerous as cars. We call BS. No, they say that no laws could have been able to prevent the hundreds of senseless tragedies that have occurred. We call BS. That us kids don't know what we're talking about, that we're too young to understand how the government works. We call BS. If you agree, register to vote, contact your local congresspeople, and give them a piece of your mind.
Well, the adults in office have let us down, absolutely. And fortunately, we have a lot of support from the older generations here. But what we're trying to do here at March for Our Lives is say, the adult politicians have been playing around while my generation has been losing our lives. If you see how they treat each other in the office, if you see the nasty, dirty things going on with them, it's sad to think that that's what they're doing while 17 people are being slaughtered and gunned down only yards away from where we're sitting right now. And March for Our Lives has support from everybody. And at the end of the day, this isn't a red and blue thing. This isn't Democrats and Republicans. This is about everybody and how we are begging for our lives and we are getting support, but we need to make real change here, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Well, what we have set up right now, we have a website, March for Our Lives. We're going to be doing a march in March on Washington where we get students all over the country are going to be joining us. These kids are going to make this difference because the adults let us down. And at this point, I don't even know if the adults in power who are funded by the NRA, I don't even think we need them anymore because they're going to be gone by midterm election. There's barely any time for them to save their skins. And if they don't turn around right now and state their open support for this movement, they're going to be left behind because you are either with us or against us at this point.
We are giving a lot of the politicians that we feel neglected by a clean slate because that's the past and we understand that. But from here on, we are creating a badge of shame for any politicians who are accepting money from the NRA. It is a special interest group that has most certainly not our best interests in mind, and this cannot be the normal. This can be changed, and it will be changed. And anybody who tells you that it can't is buying into the facade that's being created by the people who have our blood on their hands.
President Trump, you control the House of Representatives, you control the Senate, and you control the executive. You haven't taken a single bill for mental health care or gun control and passed it. And that's pathetic. We've seen a government shutdown, we've seen tax reform, but nothing to save our children's lives. Are you kidding me? You think now is the time to focus on the past and not the future to prevent the death of thousands of other children? You sicken me. Well, what I think needs to be on the books right now that isn't, is literally any law that's from either side of the political spectrum. If you're a Republican that supports mental health care, we want you out there making your voice heard because that's just as important as gun control or gun safety laws at this point. Because Democrats also want gun safety rules, and we can't get into any more debates. We need discussion. We've had the debates, and people have died as a result. Children have died and will continue to if we don't stop now and look at both sides of this, because we can't wait around any longer. Children are dying as a result, and we need to take action. And I call on President Trump and the Republican-controlled House and Senate and executive branch to work together, get some bills passed, and stop taking money from the NRA, because children are dying, and so is the future of America as a result.
And I just want to say something I've heard a lot is the word gun rights. And that has the connotation that we are trying to strip people of their rights. Well, first of all, we have the right to live. And second of all, here at March for Our Lives, at least for me, we don't want to take the guns away from Americans. My father is a police officer, he has guns, and I understand that having concealed weapons is good for protecting yourself. But an AR-15 is not needed to protect your house from robbers. It's not needed to hunt bears. An AR-15 is a weapon of war, and a 19-year-old who is mentally challenged and has problems was able to buy an AR-15 easily. We don't want to disarm America. We want to make America have to work for their weapons, and we have to make sure that everybody who has this kind of power in their hands has been cleared to have it. Because if Nicholas Cruz had gone through 5 minutes with any medical professional, they would have said, this person does not need an AR-15, this person needs a counselor. And 17 people would not have needed graves.
If you think that, Senator Rubio, then change the way it's easier to get a gun, okay? If you think it's too easy to get a gun, do something about it. Make it not easier to get a gun. March 24th on the March for Our Lives is only the beginning. This is the first march, but I can guarantee it will not be the last. We will be marching for the 17 we lost at our school. We will be marching for everyone we lost at the Newtown Sandy Hook shooting, at Columbine, at Virginia Tech, in San Bernardino, Orlando, at the Pulse shooting, and at Las Vegas. This is only the beginning, and March 24th, things are going to change.
It's not our job to tell you, Senator Rubio, how to protect us. The fact that we even have to do this is appalling. Our job is to go to school, learn, and not take a bullet. You need to figure this out. That's why you were unfortunately elected. Your job is to protect us, and our blood is on your hands.
So as you see, these courageous kids are deciding to start a movement on their own. And I'm praying that this happen all across the nation, that other students take the same stance. Am I an advocate for kids not being in school? Yeah, if they fear their life, it may be a possible. If they feel like they're not safe, no, they don't need to be in school. Go home, get some education there, teach yourself. What? Why would you say that? I'd rather you be home safe, trying to get an education that way, than going to some school trying to get an education, knowing that your safety is on the line. Florida school's a little bit different. When I came up, and Rick Scott is not going to be pushing this. I call him Voldemort, or Voldemort, whatever his name from Harry Potter. He's not going to push. He's not going to push stricter gun laws, background check, mental health situation. I also think there should be a tier system on what kind of weapons that you are allowed to be able to have access to. He don't want to deal with the straw buyer situation and things like that. This is all he has to say. That's right, my thoughts and prayers. My thoughts and prayers. Now, people, it's no new thing that you know. I wouldn't label myself as a religious person, but I am a believer. I do utilize the scriptures of the Bible in my life. I do believe that the religious right and the conservative right got a lot of things wrong with scripture. And one of the reasons why I'm up here is to push back against some of their thinking. I hate the image that current religious state has right now before the American public. And I'm more of a Martin Luther King type religious person, that I promote love, peace, and equality and things like that. I do believe in the sinner and the righteous thing going on. I do believe all men do mess up, and I believe all men can ask for forgiveness and be restored to move forward. That's how I am. But in this situation, Rick Scott, thoughts and prayers are not enough, bruh. It takes action. Since you want to see thoughts and prayers, all you religious right people, since you want to keep saying my thoughts and prayers, that's always coming after the death. There's things you can do right now to help eliminate the thoughts and prayers situation. You still want to have your thoughts. You still want to have your prayers, but not only on tragic issues. You can have thoughts and prayers about having a better way. You can seek wisdom, get advice, inward and outwardly. Use your brain. Whatever you need to do, seek a higher power on what you can do to protect these kids and people in general. I live in New York, and one of the things that New York has is community policing, which we need more of. We actually have a community police unit. People from the community that decide to join the police department to be around for community events and things like that to make sure they're safe and sound. They also have school safety police. Yes, I know. It sounds like we're having a police state going on. No, if you actually look at the structure, it's pretty much parents who have kids. They Their job is to make sure no weapons get in, and their job is to make sure their kids are safe and sound. Oftentimes monitoring the hallways, making sure the kids are safe. Yes, it's going to take that to protect these kids. School shootings in the state of New York is pretty low. Shootings in general all across the world is pretty low, except in this country. And people say, well, people trying to blame the donations on Congress leaders, and that's the reason why they're not doing anything about it. It's always the reason why they don't do anything. This is no different. So people like Ben Shapiro, you need to be quiet, Doc. I'm going to get on you later about this Black Panther thing. Yes, it does influence their votes. Money influence, and that's why we need to get it out of politics. And there's too many Republicans getting money from the NRA. Now, I'm a fan of NRA. I just don't like the overreach of NRA. I've been in a position where I've had a weapon, and and I thought about joining the NRA. But NRA has gotten so powerful, and their influence is too strong, and it needs to be broken. I do believe in gun ownership. I really do. I believe you should have one in the house away from your kids where you can get access to protect your family. Because you're going to have an idiot that try to break in your window, and they need to meet that gun barrel down the face. You don't have to necessarily kill him, but you do what you do to protect your family. But these assault weapons, these mod weapons that you could attach to a regular gun, these mod systems, these assault weapons should not be on the street. It's specifically this weapon that has been used in majority of the mass killings in the past 5 years. Need not be on the streets. And I know you people say, well, people come up with this dumb stuff. Well, it's not guns. It's stupid people with guns that kill people. No, it's stupid people and guns that kill people. Stop separating them. This is not a separate issue. It's stupid guns. It's guns in the hands of stupid people that do stupid things like this. So you need to deal with the gun issue and the stupid people issue. If you get the gun out of hand of stupid people, these stupid things won't happen. If you stop stupid people from buying guns, these stupid things can happen. There's no separation, Doc. They go hand in hand. You never seen a mass brick hitting. You never seen a mass knife stabbing. These weapons need to be banned. It's too much can be done at one time. People can't even go see a good movie without that happening. Or go to school to get an education without worrying about somebody coming in to slaughter everybody. No, this has to be done. And you politicians need to step up to the place and look the NRA in the eye and say, no more. We'll support you up to a certain extent. But when it comes to these type of weapons, we only want it for our military. And we got to make it hard. You got to make it hard as a military person to bring those home once you get out in the military. Now, my brother is a super soldier, and I love him. And my brother got his weapons, but he's responsible for it. That's why I said they need to be a tier system on what kind of weapon that you're able to have. You have to take classes, get evaluated. It should be hard. You have to work. You should be able to work to get a certain type of weapon in your arsenal. Little handgun, there should be a small class, mental check, evaluation, interview, the whole 9 yards to get that gun. And it should go up tier by tier. That's what I believe in. Something got to be done about this gun issue. New York has done something. School safety police are tremendous. They care for the kids. They love the kids. They don't overlord them or try to put them down. They're parents that has a working relationship with their children, and they see their children in the eyes of the children that they're policing on that campus. It works in New York City, and it'll work in your city. There's things that can be done. You just got to do it. Stop talking trash and do it. And I applaud these young people who saying, we're going to do something about it. We're going to rally around the country and say, hey, we're not going back to school. No, we're going to fight against this, and we're going to lobby and push back against this. No, we're not going to be a pawn in your scheme to develop a more police state. Anyway, I'm done on this one. That's my commentary on the situation. I didn't want to go into detail about the child killing. I want to go in detail about the person who did the killing. Whether he worked for a white supremacist group, had mental issues, things like that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whether he was white group, Black Panther, it doesn't matter. Stupid people or ignorant people or people who have mental issues. A lot of people who have mental issues are very smart. These people right here do not need a gun. Keep the guns out of their hands. These things like that won't happen. So stop with trying to separate the two. Well, it's not the guns that kill people. It's stupid people with guns that kill people. No, it's both. Stupid people and the guns in their hands that they're using go hand in hand. My hat's off to these young people that's going to decide to take a bold stand and really go after the politicians on this. Call them out by name. Call them out by name, baby. Call them out with the NRA and how much money they gave. Call them out on their vote. Call them out on their record with the NRA. Call them out. Call them out for their bull crap. Shame them. Blast them on Facebook. Blast them on Twitter. Can you imagine millions of kids blasting a certain senator who caught at an NRA smoozing it up with champagne and caviar and all that kind of stuff? Yet at the same time, people getting murdered. Bob TV.